location is always visible on there in the background. Well, I mean, it kind of makes sense in the aspect of if you're going to use Uber, they didn't know where you're at. But the reality is that app, as long as if you use the default settings, it is always, and I think Grubhub and DoorDash are the same way. If you use the default settings, your location is always visible to people in that app. So you can go in there and change all that. It's all changeable in the settings, not a big deal. You got to be aware that it's in there to change that. How many folks have Facebook with friends they haven't talked to in 10 years, like face to face? Why? That's the thing. I have them too. I don't know why. I have a brand new Facebook. I still have people I haven't talked to in 10 years on there. Don't know why. But again, we don't know that's them for sure. We don't know what's going on.
I think it's like being lazy and forgetting about deleting.
Sure it is. Or people that I have people I went to high school with. They'll bring on Facebook. I haven't seen them since we walked out of high school. But for some reason, I feel some need to be nice and accept their friend request. I don't know why. They don't see them tomorrow. I don't know. This last one on here, especially for y'all, when you do your social media, if you decide to, which again, it's great with moderation, like anything else. So much of that stuff never goes away. When I was in investigations, for a short while, it went away pretty quick. We did background investigations for new hires, dispatchers, police officers, that kind of stuff. And one thing we did was we would do a search online for social media stuff. And we would make them log into their accounts and show us their accounts. And the crap you see on there that they just forgot about. I mean, they were kids. They did dumb stuff 10 years ago, but it never goes away. I mean, and that's the thing.
Part of that digital footprint.
100%. And if you ever want to have a job in the military or in that sector somewhere, and you want a security clearance of some kind, they dig deep. Very, very deep. Very, very deep. And if it was on there, they're going to find it. Again, stuff that we do innocently, without thinking, is the biggest problem. I mean, it's kind of like we've all seen the Facebook stories about someone following somebody around Walmart and human trafficking, throwing a van. Well, that's not how it works, because there are people who willingly will go with them to be trafficked. It's the same thing online. They don't need to go stalk you, because there are people who are putting their crap out there voluntarily. They don't need to go hack at your computer and find your data when you're putting it out there voluntarily. So the stuff that we do is the biggest problem. Again, like I said, Snapchat, your locations are, that's the dumbest thing.
You can turn that off though, on Snapchat.
Yeah,
you can turn your
Yeah, you can, absolutely, yeah. But again, the default settings though, and most high school students from experience, they want it all. So they can find their friends, so they know. It blows my mind, but that's what they want. Like when they go to the lot or whatever, their Snap maps are all on, because they want to know who's where and whether it's worth going and where they're at. And it's just, I don't get it, but I'm not one of them. So my daughter is 22. We just missed the Snapchat drama. We were able to kind of avoid it, but man, there's no way now. Just true or false?
True.
It's kind of both. I mean, in some ways it kind of goes away, but if somebody's intent enough to find it, it will be there in some form or version. The internet's gotten so big that sometimes it's hard to locate, but I guarantee you it's there somewhere. I mean, the electric bill you paid online 6 years ago is floating around on a server somewhere. And all it is one data breach away from being there. It's kind of a cheesy illustration, but it kind of really makes you understand, especially when you get into the realm of like sexting or inappropriate images, that just because you're sending it to one person or your child's sending it to their boyfriend or their girlfriend, it doesn't take long for it to get everywhere. And the problem is we can probably get it back from one or two people get off their phone, make sure they delete it, but once it extends past that point, it's too far gone to get back. And once it gets to that stage, it's gone. I mean, we deal with images to this day at the high school from seniors that were taken in the 7th grade here in this building that are still making the rounds from people who never even know these kids, but they're out there. And that's the kids in this circle. Now, no telling where they're at out in the world. We don't see the weird chatting like we used to as much. I mean, it's still out there some. I think kids are, in there, to give them credit, they're a little more aware of the whole weird stranger stuff, you know. When we first started seeing this a lot, it was every app out there, every game had a messenger, feature to it. We worked a case one time where a girl was enticed through Words with Friends. Remember that game? The Words with Friends game? There was a messenger function there you could talk. Well, we had a predator that basically set up a meet through Words with Friends. I mean, it was in every app you got. I honestly think, much as I hate the true crime shows, the podcasts and stuff, I think that is raising awareness in, especially older kids. They're a little more aware of what's going on. They're a little smarter about that kind of stuff, but it still happens though. And that's kind of the danger of friending people you don't know, that you haven't seen in 10 years, that, a friend of a friend's cousin's neighbor kind of thing. You don't know who they are. Christy, were you here when we had the girl that ended up in Ohio, one of the students here? Met a boyfriend on Facebook Messenger, come down here and picked her up, ended up being like a 57-year-old guy, and took her. That was here. That was one of our middle school students. Met a kid. You look at his Facebook account. I mean, this was still when Facebook was still a thing. Instagram really hadn't taken off. This was probably, what, 2000?
Here in 18.
Yeah, 17, 18, 19, somewhere in that ballpark. So it was still when Facebook was still relevant for teenagers. But you pull the account up, it looks legit. It's a kid. It's a good-looking kid, same age. I mean, they're really good. They talk. He had, it was some kind of weird, they had a mutual friend, but it was like a really weird, connection that didn't even make sense. They talked for months. He sent her gifts. They showed up at the house. I mean, everything it was creepy, but it wasn't, concerning as far as, oh my God, they're going to get kidnapped. It was a couple of weird, perverted little kids talking. They arranged to meet. He shows up. He's 56, 57 years old and takes her, snatches her. We just happened to get lucky, and for whatever reason, we were able to track them to Pennsylvania. It's Pennsylvania is what it was. And caught him in a hotel room and got her. He killed himself in the hotel room. But again, had it been my daughter and I caught that, I would have never assumed. She would have got in trouble for talking to some boy she didn't know. That's as far as it would have gone. So I would never have assumed what it was. And that's the fear with the chatting thing. I think that is becoming less common, but it's still very real. You just don't know who that is. You have no idea. I guess with AI, I've seen some AI stuff that, and it's still new enough that it's kind of unknown, but there's some AI stuff they can employ that will chat with people like a real person, and they don't have to be in the room. It just runs, and then whenever they get enough information from them, then they're good to go. So. Cyberbullying is kind of the hot button now in all across the schools. As a parent, somebody give me what you think cyberbullying is. Somebody, I don't care.
Just being mean to other kids.
Okay?
Fake accounts and other kids' names.
Okay. The crappy thing is there's no real answer. I mean, it's different every day. We see new and inventive ways to be a piece of crap online every day. And where it gets really scary is usually there's no good guys and there's no bad guys. It's both sides yipping at each other because it's so easy to do, and it can get really, really scary real fast. And it kind of builds off the backbone of everything else talked about is once, whether it's an image or whether it's a video or whether it's whatever it is, just a bad message. Once it gets out there and gets shared by every kid in the school, you can't get it back. And it's a daily issue. I don't know, I'm sure here, I know it is here because we deal with the same stuff. But I would say that's 75% of what I do on a daily basis is in some way cyberbullying.
So, Mr. Ryan, you may agree with this, I'm gonna say 90% of our day at the middle school is dealt with cyberbullying. In some way or fashion, it always goes back to a post that was made.
Mhm.
Do you agree with that?
Again, a threat of some sort.
And honestly, I hate that term.
Drama, threats, something, it always goes back to a message sent, either text message, Snapchat, whatever.
And 9 and a half times out of 10, it's not even the two that are bickering. It's some friend gets involved and sends it to them, hey, I saw this, and it just turns into this big giant mess.
I can't tell you though how many times my oldest, who's in 8th grade, has come home because something started at school, and then there's a fight at the Civic Center.
100%.
And I've seen videos of parents getting involved and fighting with each other in front of the kids, and I'm like,
And that's the thing that's so hard on the school side is because cyberbullying is this 24-hour-a-day,
Yes.
7-day-a-week issue, and we can only deal with it for 7 hours a day on school property. And that's such a tough thing to explain to kids, let alone parents and the public, is we can't fix this issue. We can't deal with this issue. We can't. It's an issue that is way beyond our scope. It's a cultural issue is what it is. It really is. I mean, the online environment is so easy to abuse and to be anonymous in that it's become an epidemic, for lack of a better word. I mean, it permeates every single thing we do. And you're right. I mean, so much of the things, they either start at school and they wind up somewhere else, or they start somewhere else and wind up at the school, but it's all cyberbullying. I mean, it's all done online, on phones. I mean, man, we give them Chromebooks to do. We even give them the tools to do it with. So, one of the biggest problems we deal with is even on our end, on my end, which luckily it's not a big problem, it is the administrators, but the parents of kids who are being bullied are usually pretty quick to bring it to our attention and to want to deal with it. The problem is so often those kids are the ones doing the bullying. Either they get their feelings hurt and they cry foul, or it's going both directions, and you can't explain to these parents, hey, this is a mutual thing, or it's your kid doing this. That's the hard part is, and so, I mean, the parents, honestly, they're ignorant. They don't know. They aren't watching what's going on these kids' phones. It's not their fault these kids are doing this. They're kids doing kid stuff. But the realization of what's going on and the reluctance to do anything about it is tough. I'm a firm believer in the fact that kids aren't any different than they always have been. The world has changed in ways that they're not equipped to deal with it, and we've given them all of these devices and this information and this open network and told to be good and don't mess it up. And here we are. I'm sure everyone here is a member of some sort of Sound Off Raw, possibly some group. We can't keep adults from doing it. They suck. And we expect our kids to do it. I mean, it's tough.
I had to believe that.
I'm not, I got out of all of them. Can't even do it.
Listen to it.
How many of your virtual kids do you think are a result of cyberbullying? They've gone virtual voluntarily? Or at least
4 or 5.
that's the, really?
Very small few.
Okay. I would say we're probably way over that. I mean, I say that. I would say we're over half as far as that's the stated reason.
But our virtual looks different this year,
Mhm.
so we've cut way down, so it's basically for like extreme behavior issues.
We have a lot of kids who go virtual voluntarily. Their parents do that. And I would say that I bet we're hovering around half that in some way that's the reason. Is because whatever's happening in cyberland is getting into the school and making it where they can't come to school. I do think that, like most buzzwords, it gets overused a lot of times, but in reality, it's real. We got to deal with it. There's no way that parents alone can fix it. There's no way that the school can fix it or the law enforcement can fix it. It's going to have to be a shift overall. as a victim of cyberbullying, the best thing you can do is ignore it. It just is. I mean, I know it sounds dumb and trite, but that's the best way you can do it is just don't engage. Sadly, that never happens. They always engage. Usually, like any bully, if you ignore it, don't give them the satisfaction, they're going to stop. They're going to find somebody else. Doesn't always happen. But in the few cases where the victim actually stops engaging, it usually goes away. The problem is that they never stop. If you see somebody who's getting bullied, or if you have kids who come to you and say, hey, I think so-and-so is getting bullied, we as the school need to know that as soon as possible. Because once that cooks for a while, we can't get that rabbit back in the hat, because once it makes its way out, it's done. We have been, like anything else, once it's out there, we can't make it come back. So it's pretty bare bones PowerPoint. I kind of hope y'all have a lot of questions, because again, this stuff changes daily. I mean, what kind of problems are y'all as parents seeing? You're here for a reason. I mean, it's either you're seeing stuff, or you're worried about stuff, or you're trying to head it off before it gets there.
Is there a good app to use, and I've heard of them, maybe I just need to research more on using apps that, like, say the text come in? Because what I've seen, like in my own kid's phone, like he'll be in a huge group chat with all his friends, and there'll be one kid that says something extremely inappropriate, whether it's this or that, but it's super far inappropriate. And, you know, to catch that before and to have that conversation with your kid in that moment of like, hey, listen, that's not how we talk. You need to delete the group chat. You know what I mean? Like, to separate yourself from that so you're not a part of it. Are there apps to do that?
There are. The problem is wading through the ones who just want your money and the ones that are actually effective. And again, this stuff changes daily. One cool thing about Apple devices, if y'all are an Apple-centric household, you can log in, you can have your child's device account logged in on like a desktop. You can watch stuff real time come in that way, if it's that big a concern. Probably for me and what we've done, and again, I'm not the expert as far as parenting by any means. I've got a 22-year-old daughter that's somehow successful and has gotten out of the house and is on her own. I've got a freshman boy who probably the death of me. But the most effective thing is just, that phone ain't theirs. Check it. And even more effective than checking it is them knowing you're going to. Even if you never do it, if they think you're going to, then that's the most effective tool.
And like our kids have like a certain time, like when you go to bed, that phone has to be in the kitchen, on
Right.
the counter.
And we have the same rule,
Not
which
every
normally leads to a
certain
dead phone the next day, typically if they forget, but it's fine too. I'm cool with that. Verizon, oddly enough, if you're a Verizon subscriber, they've got a pretty cool, we use it with him. It's not real, like detailed, but you can set up, they can only text between these hours. Their data gets shut off between these hours. We get alerts if there's any text after a certain time or a video message. I get a weekly report from Verizon. It's free. I think it's like $3 a month, I think, what it is for each line. But it's well worth it in my opinion. It's pretty easy to maneuver. I get an email once a week. I get alerts like if it's after hours. So again, there's ways to monitor. Some of the software I've seen, the problem is you've got different, when you're trying to maneuver Android and Apple worlds, and stuff gets weird. A lot of them don't talk across platforms. We're seeing a lot more Androids again, which is odd. Probably a cost issue. You know, Android kind of died for a long time. We're seeing a lot more kids get Androids. So that complicates things as far as what you can and can't see. I'm reluctant to recommend anything that costs money because I think most of them are just, they're crap. They want your money, they want to sell you stuff. And so I see the best tool I've seen, and historically, you know, when we've had parents show up and they found stuff on their kid's phone that's either illegal or it's illicit or whatever else, it's almost always from them, hey, I was looking at my kid's phone last night when they went to bed and found this. It works. That's the best advice I have is be involved. But, you know, they need to know that phone ain't theirs. My daughter one time changed her password on her phone, and she was out of the world for quite a while. She didn't have a phone for quite some time. So, and that's just easy stuff like that. I mean, they got to know. And here's the deal. If they don't have a phone, it's okay for a little while. They'll survive, I promise you. We have parents that are so afraid their kid not having a phone that I mean, I've had more parent conversations at the high school over teachers taking the kids' phone in class than anything else, 100%. Because they need that phone because they might get lost from the parking lot to the front of the school, I don't know. So,
You don't even bring your phone to school. Good job.
Christy, what are y'all, is Snapchat still the biggest thing right now? On this,
What?
is Snapchat still the biggest issue here?
Snapchat's awful.
Yeah.
And I will say, you know, our cell phone policy here is they are supposed to put their phones in their locker every morning and turned off, and they cannot access them until 3 o'clock. Now, do we have kids who don't follow the rules? Of course, every single day, teachers and principals are taking phones.
Mhm.
Many times it's parent pickup because we've had to take their phones so many times. And you guys, it is so important that those phones are turned off. I can promise you, your kids are safe here. Parents call complaining all the time, you don't have a right to take my kid's phone. Well, yes, I do, because that's school policy. And, you know, I get school threats, I get school shootings, all of that. Don't misunderstand me, but your kids are safe here. But sometimes they're not safe when they have those phones because they're in class, they're getting these messages, they are being bullied, somebody's making fun of their hair, somebody's doing this, calling them fat. It is nonstop and they can't learn. They are not even thinking about learning that day. They are thinking about what somebody else is saying and who's sending that message because I just heard another notification going off. And so we're not doing this to be mean, we're doing this so we can teach kids and that they can be here and learn and be safe too. That's a big thing, is just help support us in that. Another thing, Snapchat's awful. So check your kid's phone every night is what I would say. And a lot of times we do tell parents, they're like, well, what do? We can't take their phone. Yes, you do.
Sure.
You pay that bill, that phone is yours. That phone does not belong to your kid. Check your phone. And, you know, there's kids that throw fits, you know, big fits, in our office sometimes. But you know what? It's for their own good. And maybe one of these days they'll learn. They'll figure it out that we're just trying to protect them.
Do y'all know anything about the smartwatches?
They cannot have any device. Earbuds, that's a huge thing. The girls like to pull their hair over their ears and then just like not look at you because they're sneaky. Some like to keep their phones in their Chromebook case.
Yep.
And I mean, we catch them. But yeah, smartwatches are
And
included.
the high school's a little bit different because the dynamic is different. We have kids who drive, we have kids who go to sports, we have kids who are off campus during the day. So our phone policy there is a little bit more lax. In theory, it's phones off and out of sight during classroom hours. That never happens. It looks like they've been starving for a month, and when the bell rings, they're all on their phones in the hallway.
My personal opinion is middle school kids are not mature enough to have
I agree.
Snapchat. They do not need it.
We-
You know, Instagram's kind of iffy.
Yeah, it is.
But you can monitor Instagram. Be Real's kind of iffy, but you can monitor Be Real. You may have to take a weird picture of yourself or of the ceiling to be able to access their Be Real. But it's safer. But Snapchat, they are not mature enough.
I'm one of the, I'm I guess a young, or I don't even know, a young Gen X, an old millennial. I kind of grew up without phones and then watched it all happen. I'm kind of different in the fact that I don't think that not giving your kids a device until they're 17 is a viable option. It's just, the world's different. I think you reach a point where you're handicapping your kids if you don't give them the tools they need to survive, and you can't survive in the world without knowing how to run a phone or a computer. I get that. The one hard rule that we have in our house, and we've had since my daughter was in school and my son now, is there's no Snapchat. That's the one rule. We'll discuss just about anything else. Snapchat's off limits. We don't do it. My son couldn't care less. My daughter, he thought that I had killed her, but when all her friends had it. So, and we found where she had, kids are really, really good at deleting and re-downloading apps. I mean, I don't know how many kids I will watch walk into the school and they're downloading Snapchat as they walk in the doors, and the same kids are deleting it as they walk out the doors on the bus because they know their parents said they can't have it. They're not stupid. They're smarter than we are. That's the problem. Is they're smarter than we are, and you cannot catch them. So you've got to teach them.
Can you make a list of those students that you see?
Yeah, no, I don't have the proof. It's insane. It's nuts, and I see it all the time.
They don't understand
Apple,
too,
you can
like
check
the,
into
I don't hate to say the word legal ramifications, but, you know, we, sixth graders especially, when we watch them, and me having a sixth grader this year, you know, elementary has just different policies with behavior, they're limited on things, but here, you know, and then in high school, it just expands as far as how, but they just don't understand, like, the damage that things that they do, what it really is doing. You know, they can't process it because they're not age-appropriate apps, they're not age-appropriate activities for the kids to be doing in the first place.
Well, it's kind of like what I talked about earlier. We're giving kids haven't changed, the world's changed. We're giving them tools that we never had. I mean, if I'd have wanted to send a picture of myself to a girlfriend in school, or like a Polaroid in the mail, it would really weird for a long time. Now they can do it instantly. And they don't realize it's going to go everywhere. They're in love with their boyfriend, and he's going to keep it. It's not going to go anywhere. And then by next Tuesday, the entire school's got it. We're getting to high school, and it turns weird. Oklahoma is not the best on writing laws that make sense. By statute, if your child takes a picture of themselves and sends it, they are manufacturing and distributing child pornography. And that kid who receives it, even though he didn't ask for it, he didn't want it, is guilty of possession of child pornography. If I take that device and look at it myself, I've committed the crime of possession of child pornography. The laws are so black and white with no leeway that there's no way not to commit a crime anytime you got a picture of a kid on a phone. Luckily, locally, our courts are aware of how screwed up it is, and we're not prosecuting kids for doing kid stuff. But there are scenarios where parents won't take no for an answer. They want everybody in their dog charged who had it. I mean, it was the first day of school last year, the very first day of school last year, my first day as the SRO in the world, we had 9 freshman boys in the office because they had a picture of a girl that one of them had gotten in 7th grade and shared it. And it's scary. Sexting is horrible because of the ramifications. I mean, one thing we've always done, administrators and law enforcement, you know, say you get a text threatening you, hey, email me that text. That way I've got a copy of it, put it in the case file. Well, I mean, hey, show me that picture, send me, I got proof of it. You send that picture to an administrator who gets in trouble, they're guilty of a crime. I mean, it's a horrible. There's no way around it. And the bad thing is that picture that your kid got in the 7th grade from their girlfriend is still floating around in the 12th grade, and when their kid's in the 12th grade, and it's made its way into some weird database somewhere where guys are buying it and trading the pictures for it, and it's horribly, horribly scary stuff. NICMEC, which is a resource I'll give you here in a minute, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, they run as kind of a side part of their mission is they run a child pornography, like a database that they search the internet constantly. Their software does to find images, and they find somewhere around 175,000 new images every day. Not ones that have been shared, recycled, not ones that somebody Googled. These are newly produced images of child pornography every single day. And there actually is a service that if your child makes a mistake, it takes a picture and sends it, you can actually legally submit that image to them and they can scrub it from the internet. The problem is the only way that works is that exact image. If somebody resizes it, if they crop it, if they change the color in there, it's no longer the same image. They can't find it. It doesn't work anymore. So it's horrible. I mean, everybody's heard of the dark web. Even if you pretend the dark web doesn't exist, the real web's scary enough. The dark web is it's a whole different ballgame. I don't even get into that mess because it's too scary to mess with. But just know that if your child has a lapse in judgment or does something stupid and that image gets out, there's no getting it back. I mean, it's just out there forever.
I think one of the bad things is TikToks get kind of bad on doing certain stuff like that, and all they ask is like, if you're above the age of 15.
Oh, yeah. And
I'll be
I'll
bad
watch
about it
TikTok, like
scrolling through there.
yeah,
and
I'll
it's-
watch puppy dog videos and pickup trucks, all kinds of crap on there, and people just doing dumb stuff. TikTok's like anything else; it's as good or as bad as you make it. we really haven't seen the rash of the TikTok challenge. It's been a
So
little,
we
Oh, have you
at
this
the
year?
beginning of this year, we had several TikToks accounts, it was like Labor Day weekend. Several different TikTok accounts that were made, using Duncan Middle School.
oh
images.
yeah, I forgot about that one.
That was a
Sorry.
big thing.
Yeah.
And just roasting kids. Some of you in here may have had kids guilty of that, or victims of that. Roasting kids in TikTok is awful. It's kind of like
Mhm.
Snapchat, getting them to take it down.
TikTok, the problem with TikTok is content
So
is just the
slow.
immensity of it, the amount. I mean, you can watch TikTok 5 times in 10 minutes and not get the same 5 videos. Just the amount of data that's on there and the way the algorithm works, it's just so immense. And kind of like video, kind of like images. Let's say I submit a order to TikTok to pull a video down. They'll pull that video down. And every time that video's been shared, except for if someone changed the music on there, or they clipped it, or if they added an image to it that's not the same video. So like it's just so immense and so fast that we can't deal with it. We had the Little Miss thing last year that made its rounds. 3 or 4 years ago, we had the whole TikTok challenge thing where, you go in there and tear off the sink off the wall thing, and luckily that hasn't resurfaced in a while, so I think parents got tired of paying for sinks and toilets, but TikTok is not as personal, doesn't seem like Snapchat is, it's not easily hidden, but again, it's an issue, but TikTok is exactly what you make it, and if your kids have TikTok, even if they just watch TikTok, go watch their TikTok, because the videos that are showing up on there, the algorithm knows what they like and what they're watching, so you can tell what they're watching based on the videos it's showing you. You know what they're searching, that kind of stuff. Kind of like Chromebooks, we have the ability here to look at everything that has on a Chromebook. In theory, we really don't, because the kids are smart. Our Chromebook software is supposed to block like pornographic images and stuff. I ran into some 6th graders last year, 5th graders last year, who had figured out that you could search for pornographic art on eBay. And you got to run the filter. So, I mean, there's always a way to get around stuff. So, I didn't know you could buy porn on eBay, but apparently you can. There's really good pictures, so you just do it that way and figure it out. So,
They figured out a way to go around our security system, GoGuardian.
yeah.
And so there's a lot of times where teachers are just like, "Where's your Chromebook? We're gonna put a paper
Yeah.
pencil." And honestly, that's a good thing.
Well, that's what we need to go back to, that's all I remember.
And again, there's benefits to the technology, I get it, but like anything, it's going to be as good as what you put into it. And if you're gonna try to do something stupid, you're gonna get it done. And the best advice I've got for you is just be involved, know what's going on. Listen to your kids, they'll tell you. Even the ones who don't want to tell you will tell you by the way they act. I mean, they talk. If you hear something concerning, talk to your administrators. There's counselors here. I mean, it's a good environment to get help. You just gotta be aware that you need help to begin with. And by the time we get a hold of it, we figure it out, usually it's too late, it's already. And almost universally, we talk to a parent, and they're good parents, they mean well, they're involved, there's no concern. But almost every time they're like, yeah, I knew something was going on, I just wasn't sure what it was. Almost every time.
A lot of times you can tell that your child's attitude's a little different. You can tell something's just not right. And many times it has something to do with that cell phone. There's something going on, they just don't want to talk.
If they start getting out of bed late in the morning, missing the bus, that kind of stuff, they're up on it all night long. I mean, I would say midnight to 2 is the magic hour for all bad things happening online. I mean, once the parents go to sleep, here's the deal. You can make your kid go out and plug your phone outside. You go to sleep, they can sneak out there and get it. I mean, there's nothing, if they want it bad enough, they're gonna do it. You'd be amazed at the number of kids we take their phones from in class and see them the same day with another phone because they've got another phone in their bag. Just in case.
Just had another phone.
Oh, 100%, absolutely. They carry a phone in their bag. It usually doesn't have any service. It's just Wi-Fi, but they still have a phone. So when they lose their first phone, they'll have one.
Of course.
So,
Listen, I even have my kids Google on my phone.
Yeah.
When they get messages at school, I get those
Yeah.
too. Some girls do, and one day I was like, you better tell her quit, because I'm going to.
We bought my daughter, when she was in high school, we bought her a MacBook when they were still more than it should have been. But we bought it because, unbeknownst to her, we could watch her, when she was at school, we could watch her messages on there. We could watch her iMessages. We could watch everything come in real time. We knew what was going on. It was amazing. My wife, I don't think she slept for a month watching all this crap. So, I mean, there's, just be involved and know what's going on. You don't have to know what's happened as long as you know something's happened. To answer your question, this is on the Intel website. There's a whole bunch of presentations on Intel's site. And also the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children is a huge website. So many resources. They've got videos, they have training, like training curriculum for younger kids. Before we get to this point, they're probably the leading resource for this kind of stuff. Remember John Walsh, the whole America Most Wanted? That's his baby. He's built it. It's an amazing thing. There's nobody better in the world that deals with child exploitation, child pornography, online safety than Nick Mack. That's kind of all I've got. If you have more questions, again, I kind of jumped into this kind of cold, so I apologize if it wasn't real insightful. But if you have any questions for me, feel free to holler at me. I'm at the high school. I'm there all the time, so just call up there and ask for me, or Jonathan Williams here at the school, or any of the administrators can help you out. So, where are you in? Where are you in? I'll see you next year. All right.
There's a picture outside in too, where your kiddos went.
Yeah, and Officer Smith, thank you for coming and spending your
You bet.
evening up here. And you guys, parents, thank you for coming. This is the largest
Yeah. They told me that 10 might show up, so.
we have had, and so this is a very, very important topic, and I'm really glad you're here. And please go out and share with all of your friends and your kids' friends about, some things that you've learned to help us help your kids too.
Well, you might tell your coaches, because I know I'm here because tennis got bribed.
Oh, good. Oh,
Yeah.
good.
But I mean, it worked, yeah.
It worked. It
So,
worked.